It's almost like a coconut. But if a coconut just had a tiny little opening in the center, and then the shell was big, big, thick, you see? And outside of this shell of the material universe, and there are many, many, many material universes, there's the spiritual energy. And the spiritual energy is eternal. And there are an unlimited number of Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky. And all of them are illuminated by the rays of the Brahmajyoti, which comes from Krishna's body. And yet, Jamunacharya says, this whole thing is simply a tiny exhibition of Krishna's potency. Krishna's potency is unlimited. So even the Vaikuntha worlds and all those planets and all the liberated living entities in the spiritual world are just a tiny, tiny, small emanation from Krishna. He could easily emanate the whole thing all over again, 10 times over again, in a second. And still he wouldn't be diminished at all. Try to understand Krishna. You could say it's just like virtual reality. If you have a computer world, and this virtual reality, it exists on the server, and if you have enough memory in the server, you can make 10 worlds, 100 worlds, 1,000 worlds, just like one, just as easily as one. It's the same software, the same pattern, just repeated over and over again. So actually each player, like in a multiplayer online game, has their own point of view, their own reality. And they see things from their point of view in a unique display. And each of the other players sees a different point of view. And even then it's the same world. But in the spiritual reality, Krishna can create unlimited number of virtual worlds for each of his devotees. So Krishna's potency is just, it's unfathomable, it's unlimited. It's incomprehensible. See, so all we can do is worship Krishna. That's our real business. All this knowledge is simply to convince us to actually do the process. I call it sometimes sales talk. It's to motivate us. It's to, actually is to convince us that the process of mental speculation is not going to give us the understanding, not going to give us the bliss, the happiness that we seek. Because the ultimate reality is actually beyond our ability to comprehend. So, fine. Let Krishna take care of it. Well, we simply love Krishna and serve Krishna with all of our hearts, we'll automatically become happy. And what do we really want more than that? If we're happy, if we're satisfied, if we're in our constitutional position, if we're in bliss, serving Krishna, then why do we need to know all of this extensive knowledge? Krishna says, what is the use of all this detailed knowledge, Arjuna? With one tiny fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. See? So the object is not the knowledge. The knowledge is simply helpful to engage us in the service of the Lord. And by that service, we become happy. And that's the real object of life, after all. So please engage in this process of devotional service and become happy. And then, no more suffering in this material world. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Give the microphone, please.
Hare Krishna. Okay. I have a question about music. We recently posted a video on the community about this singer who's very expert in swaras. And I researched his website. and his website, he has a school, and like on the front page, he's promoting why we should learn this ancient tradition. So he explains, oh, we are practicing a very ancient tradition, 20 generations in the past, unbroken. And he says, I propose that all the young men in society learn this music because it will bring blissfulness and ecstasy. Just like that. And when I read that, for me it was like, wow, I've never heard that in the West, you know. I learn this music and you will experience ecstasy. So I was very curious about it, and we were talking about that today, that he's not singing precisely holy names, and so when he says blissful and ecstasy, is he referring to the Brahman platform, or what is he referring to? What's the highest?
Yeah. In Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, who is talking actually? I think it's either Narada or Brahma that speaks those verses about Saptasvara, 7 svaras. And in the purports, Srila Prabhupada says these svaras, these Vedic sound vibrations, are actually transcendental sound. So if someone is vibrating transcendental sound vibration, of course they're going to feel bliss. Different tastes of bliss. Swaras are intimately connected with rasa, different emotional tastes of transcendental relationships. So when you vibrate these swaras, you automatically will feel some bliss. It may not be like the highest Paramananda, you know, prema or something like, but because these are transcendental sounds, they're very pleasing. They're intrinsically pleasing. And like we were discussing the other day, who was I talking with? I think it was Devesh. We were talking about this in the Darshan. That the inner ear, the cochlea of the inner ear, is constructed in such a way that the human brain, when we hear 2 different notes, automatically performs a frequency subtraction. It's a physical computer, physical analog computer built into the human ear that performs a frequency subtraction between the 2 tones. And if the 2 tones are consonant, if they're in harmony, if they're pure, in other words, if they're a swara, a Vedic sound vibration, we feel some pleasure from that. It's just like when we smell or taste something. It can be pleasant or it can be unpleasant. You know, if we smell some nice food, this is very pleasant. If we smell ammonia or bleach or something like that, then it's very unpleasant. See? So similarly, when the vibrations are aligned, there's actually something in our organs of our ear that gives us pleasure. And when the relationship of the vibrations is not correct, if it's out of tune, we automatically go, ugh, you know, ugh, I don't want to hear that. It's a clinker, it's noisy. So there's some pleasure there. There's some natural pleasure. And unlike other types of pleasure, it does not produce, it doesn't use up our energy. You know? It doesn't use up our energy. Like sex life, for example, uses up our energy. And afterwards we feel exhausted. Yeah, like, oh, why did I do that? That was dumb. But hearing nice sounds doesn't. You can listen to music for hours and never become tired, especially if it's very nice music. So what to speak of swaras? Well, when these swaras are used to sing the name of the Lord, then, you know, we could go on indefinitely. Except my vocal cords aren't in good shape, so Just from one little kirtan, I'm already a little hoarse. But, you know, if you sing every day, you can gradually build up the endurance to sing for hours and hours and hours. It's not a problem. So just like, you know, the bliss that we get from contemplating consciousness, you know, it may not be the highest bliss of Krishna prema, but it's still transcendental bliss. Similarly, the bliss that we get when we hear perfectly formed intervals, musical intervals, is actually transcendental. It's actually transcendental sound vibration. So he's right. He's not joking. He's not exaggerating. It's actually bliss. It may not be, you know, the highest stage of devotional service.